we combine those two, we can actually have a 3D representation of the as it exists here with very limited tools. It's not perfect, but it allows us to get a very good idea back to you as well as for other research. What's going on here, and then from a taphonomy standpoint, knowing where things are is vital. Because different elevation changes, different changes as you're going across the quarry will be very informative on what's happening here, or it will allow us to discount what didn't happen. Is that making sense? Questions about that? No? No? Okay.
Maybe everyone's used the transit before.
Hey Garrett, can you get my sketchbook out of
It's
my
pretty
backpack? Because it has all the numbers
So,
for
on
the
that
specimens we're
point,
going to be doing the.
Who here has used the transit before?
I did it 3 times.
What he said.
It's
Oh,
Okay,
It's
wonderful.
been
I don't
at least
count.
6 years since I used
Count.
the transit.
You just have issues with the glasses. The one I will tell you is if you do have questions,
try every year.
That's something we realized with Jen, that it's hard with corrective lenses to look through. So if you do, you may not be able to do this component, but that's okay. We'll need people for this because we've got a lot of grids we got to go through. So the first thing we're going to do is practice for everybody. Janine, do you want to? Can you go back to where the second datum just to help? You want to put that on the second datum for me, and then let's spin it around. So I won't bore you guys with all the setup. The big thing just to know is you want this about as level as possible. And then for the stick wiggling, the key is you're going to take this just back and forth. You want to demonstrate?
Yeah. Can you see it, Arthur?
Back and forth.
Apparently the thing's heavily out of focus.
Well, you can put it in focus here in a moment. But what you're going to do is wiggle it back and forth. And what you're doing is you're creating an arc. And the area where it's most in focus, once we've got it set, that top of the arc is the actual elevation that it's at. So it's another way where we can actually be rather precise. What I'm going to need other people to help with is making sure that this is approximately vertical. We've got, again, a little bit of wiggle room. We're going to have some inaccuracy just because we're in the field. We want to get it as close to accurate as possible. So that's it, Arthur. Good. You know how to zoom it in? Right here. This ring. Use that ring. So you can use up top here is literally an aiming arrow, little triangle. You can use that to pinpoint what you're on. And then you've got a ring, just basically a gigantic plastic O-ring that you can then use to actually calibrate in on it.
I see it.
Okay.
Is it vertical?
The guys on the sides, how are we looking there? Is she basically vertical?
I mean, it's going back and forward, forward back, but yeah, it's.
And Janine, push it that way a little. Okay, you're good now.
Leaning back more than leaning forward.
Try and keep the arc consistent. You want your back and forth motion to be about the same. Again, though, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to have some inaccuracy. So the goal with the core is to be plus or minus 3 centimeters.
Right. 3 feet 6. The first dash.
So we'll just do 3.61.
It's the first dash and there are 4 in between, so
Yep.
probably 0.2.
Okay.
Wait, what? 0.2?
Yeah, 3.62 is what he came up with. I'm going to have them all do it, Jen, and we'll give you an average. For at least
Well, I mean, I've got a whole row here. I can
Okay,
average it out
thank
at the end. Don't you know how grid
So
works?
again, we'll look through this first, just to get the chart. And then I'm also going to have you check, are we level? There's your little level bubble. Yep. So now go look through, is it on? And then, since you've seen this done before, do you want to take over for people do both?
So Peter, let me know if I'm swinging equally.
And then, do it, control it in line. You want to just tell him whether or not he's vertical in this direction?
You gotta bring it towards you more if you want a more symmetrical arc.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
You lined up on him?
That's better.
That's the guidance I need because I can't tell
Can
when
you see
I'm standing
the
right in front of it.
I think that's about perfect.
That's
Yeah.
good?
I think you got
Okay,
it.
I'll keep
So-
that arc.
Where's the end of the triangle pointing?
Let me know if I deviate.
About on it.
Okay.
So then you can go ahead and look through, take your reading. You may need this little bevel here so that you can adjust if it's out of
See, that's what I
focus. It
can't tell.
may
I
be
think
out of
I'm bringing
focus
it to
compared to
myself.
Arthur's eyes.
Thank you. I can't feel it.
I just moved this way.
I'd say that's pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Just keep me honest.
Adjust as needed. And then one thing that can happen occasionally, I'm not saying this has happened yet, but your hands may cover where we're trying to make the measurement. So we may have to have you move. I'm not,
No,
I'm
you're
not saying it's
fine.
applicable
no, you're
here, but
fine right now.
as I'm going through some of the issues that we've had.
I'm sure we'll tell you when you start getting your fingers right over the numbers you're trying to
Between
read.
like the four
The other one is when you're
and
starting
then
to
the
get
tiny
deep
little
and you
three.
need to pull it up more.
Okay. So then it's 3. So 3.3 is it right halfway between?
The shim there isn't a level bubble on the.
I know. I
Yeah.
wish there was.
Because then you can move your.
So we can say that it's
Don't be a smart
what then? What's halfway?
You
What I,
just stick
what I
it on
don't
there.
get is, what if the most in focus part is when it's not vertical? Like, what if it looks most in focus and it's like slanted forward? I guess.
Well, it's not. The idea, and that's why you go back and forth the same amount.
Okay.
That's should put the other two out of focus.
Or do you mean like the entire staff is in focus?
It's when
the
everything
plane.
comes into
When
focus.
you're coplanar, the entire staff should be in focus. When you're not coplanar, only a section of it will be in focus at best.
But it might not be perfectly perpendicular to the ground.
That's true.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 showing
I guess that's why you want to get the center as fellow as possible.
All right. So go ahead and take over his job. You want to come over with him?
Just so you know, you're gonna go cross-eyed for a while.
The other thing when you're stick
Focusing really
wiggling,
hard.
you can see I'm kind of in the pose now. You want to create a nice base, and you basically want to use that to create a tripod for yourself physically. Pretty much, yeah. So you do A-frame, and then have it basically right dead center, and that's giving you the most stability. That only really matters if there's winds. But try and do this when you have 50+ mile-an-hour winds. Is all kinds of fun. Is he correct on these axes?
I think so. But I'm not a good judge of
It doesn't have to be perfect. Just you look vertical.
good. Maybe go over to your left.
That seems off. I'd say go back right.
Yeah, I think he was.
There we go. No, that's good. How are we looking on the side?
He's looking good.
Okay.
There you can be another set of eyes.
You can try the glasses.
No, I'm staring at the actual whole eye contact.
It really depends on the kind of vision you have. I have
It really
astigmatism,
does.
so I have horrible vision.
Well,
My-
it's
my
a
eyes
big
go
fiber
back to
range,
half.
just a little bit more.
Let's see if we can get a reading from one of them.
Oh, when I say bring it, I also mean like as far as you went,
Keep
don't adjust it.
keep same amount of extension.
Same amount of
Yeah,
in and out.
In and out.
And
Yeah.
don't stop for us.
So if we're telling you to adjust something, we're saying the other was perfect, right? So, yeah. And now that's too much, George. So, no, do the- what is that? Is that?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like the.
That's the goal. You're
Like a
literally
metronome?
taking a measurement.
No, the like the bed that was too soft. Too
Hard.
hard.
Just, the Goldilocks. Zone.
Goldilocks. Yes, that's right. Getting my little fairy tale. Doing great. It's okay to go cross-eyed.
Which one, please?
Yeah, that's 3.25. All right. And you want to go with stick wiggle from there? Jasmine, you come in. So first thing, are you level? Level. Yep, you can win. And go ahead and use that. See a little triangle. Straight through. Straight through. Are you lined up on her? Okay. So you can reposition it.
If I move my head, it's still good.
Still good? Okay.
Slightly to the right, but only a teensy bit.
And then how are we looking on the?
I think she's good.
I would agree with that. Pete, Jerry, how are we looking?
She brings it a little bit
Too far back.
to herself.
Okay.
Well, no, she was doing
But is
perfect.
she at least relatively
She was
vertical?
perfect, and then
Yeah.
she adjusted her
Start
foot
with
stance,
vertical.
and then it went too far. So.
Dang it.
No, it was your foot stance. that-
It's okay. We can work on the stick wiggling.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We're spotters.
Yeah, it looks good.
You can't tell. You literally cannot tell when you're behind it.
Exactly on the red tree. She's going
You're a little.
from the line above the red tree to the line below the red tree, and the line on the red tree.
The little one between the 4 and the black one, please.
So come back towards you less. Your extension is great.
Yeah, the little red tree between the black one and three.
That's good.
That's where she's
So that'd
at for
be
me.
3.35. So just quickly on these guys, it's just like a ruler guy. So you got
Yardstick.
increments of 5. See a 4 between. I know it doesn't quite seem that way, but you actually have increments of 5 on these. So since most of you guys are coming right here, if you got these red ones, that's right at a 0.5. So this line right here is 3.35. That makes sense?
It's the
So
it's the notch with the angle with the
Yeah. So
The
well, this
angle
one's
is cut.
exactly at 3.
Yeah.
This is at 350, and this is at 3.35.
Mm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jimmy, you ready? Then Jasmine, you can come over here.
so every yeah everyone's got it.
You look
All right.
level.
So are we level?
Yeah.
Okay. So good, line it up there. Jasmine, tilt it a little like this. You're not quite facing us. The other thing is you want to try and be as directly on the person as possible. That takes a bit of finesse, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. You guys will get better as we map more in time. But when you're looking, you essentially want to be able to look straight across it and have the edge line up roughly with the total station. That's one way you can check if you're a stick wiggler, but that really falls on whoever has a total station. Because as you guys are seeing, that triangle makes it very precise. So, on the triangle, are you lined up on her?
Yeah, looks like.
Are we looking good vertical? Yeah.
Do you think she's good? I mean,
I'm reasonably happy with that. It's tough because there's a hill there,
right, I'm trying
but that looks pretty good to me. Pete, Jerry, how are we looking there?
Bring it towards yourself a little bit less, but it's
Yeah.
pretty,
Well, right now I just care about the
Or-
verticality.
Yeah.
or extend a little more.
Extend.
Yeah.
I would,
So
actually,
then,
I
yeah,
would
just
extend
try and keep them roughly the same back and forth.
You can
That
take,
is actually pretty important.
You can take a slight step
Yeah,
forward and then extend.
And
it.
Jasmine, if you want, you can spread your legs more to give you more of a base. I at least find that's more helpful because then it's just a nice in and out motion.
It's like
Okay, no.
martial arts.
So,
kind
Jasmine,
of.
Just so you know, what you're doing right now, you're going back and vertical, back and vertical. We need to go past.
Yeah, you got to go back and
Like a
forth
metronome.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
turn
why I said
yourself
take
into a
a step forward.
metrodome.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good.
That's better. Yeah.
Now go ahead,
Because
take-
you were
take a
going back
read.
to vertical,
You
back.
can use this ring to adjust
I
as
told
you
you
need
that
to.
I put it in
Put it in
the
front because it should be close. But go ahead.
You are so complete.
With the practicing the chanter. I don't know how she said all that.
I don't understand. It's just how it is. It's bigger on the inside than the outside.
Like everyone has baseball on the phone, you know?
Well, I can't believe it's pink.
Less
Peter,
exciting
like,
parts
like,
of
oh, I
Paleo.
got everything I need. Go
Wiggling
right
a
to the pillow,
stick.
and then the pillow takes it off the back. I'm like,
Less exciting, but just as important.
Okay.
The black lines above and below 3.35.
Okay. Good enough.
At the top and the bottom of that.
So 3.35. All right, so you can get our next stick wiggler.
So Eric, I'm confused because it seems like each stick to me should be 0.2.
So the reason they're doing this, so they're doing a datum. So the datum is this little spot they got over here that gives us our base to start at.
I know
The
it's
reason
weird,
we
that's why I
need
didn't see
to
it.
measure depth, if you look at our quarry here,
So this each tick that ends in a 5 has a 9.
our bones aren't laying flat,
At the end.
they're at an angle. And so everything's gonna be tilted. And we need to know, like, for example,
So I know that that's why I said there's only 5.
how deep the top of this rib is compared to the bottom of the rib that we've got at least exposed. Because it'll tell us a little bit about how it got buried here, fun things like that. Taking the depth will tell us how far down in other grids we would have to go to even reach our bone layer. Things like that. So it's pretty important, even if it's not terribly exciting.
I know you're okay, but what's nice, and one thing, guys, with this, and it's kind of, Jerry just brought it.
I'm willing to look like the stupid one.
No,
so
no,
that
you're
if anybody
good.
else has questions, but I was too afraid to ask, so that I can decide.
It's not a stupid question. So the question he had there was really good. Where this is relevant is all we actually care about is the relative depths. We don't care if we have one bone at 5 feet, one bone at 100 feet. We care about the relative depths for the quarry itself. So we map the quarry, we're kind of doing it in isolation relative to everything else. We know, obviously, for example, we got basically going off a cliffside, and we know what the dip is. We can factor in things like the dip later, but for just gridding it and mapping individual specimens, we care where they are relative to each other. And then when we create our 3D model, we've got that in isolation for anything else. That makes sense? So Keith just said we have it standardized here. But,
Copy.
yeah,
Like,
if we were
made it
trying
more
to
sciencey.
say take elevations of mountains, then you'd want to do this a slightly different method. But we're literally just doing this almost inside a vacuum. Kind of makes sense to people?
What's the dip?
The dip is the tilt of the rocks. And we'll go through that a bit later. Probably maybe we should have Gabriel do that for them actually. But the dip is literally the way the tilt is. The strike is the way the rocks are oriented due to north. And it allows us to essentially position rock formations relative to everything else. It's almost like as though you were describing, well, my house looks like this, it's got this type of fence in the front, things like that.
And is it metric or do you use like English?
For this, technically, again, since we're just doing it relative, the units don't matter, but right now, unfortunately, we're using standard.
So we have a meeting grid.
We have meter grid.
So
It's mixed units.
Can't it be metric?
Metric, that's
Like
all.
every other thing in science.
You have to
You
measure
see the
it.
stick, and if you don't, just adjust this meter.
Okay. Oh, and just so you know,
And
you're
Jimmy,
going like this,
Because the
vertical,
people that
you go
made
flat.
this
yeah,
thing
and
were
Jimmy, you need
Americans,
to push it that way. A bit.
used to the imperial
Thank you.
system.
By the way, you cannot tell when you're standing right behind it, so that's why we have spots.
Yep, that's why we have spotters. And then the see look good vertical. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Jimmy, don't worry. You basically, if you're doing this, you can't tell without a lot of practice to figure out.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that looks great.
That looks really good.
He has,
Yeah.
Okay, now that we've told him what to do, he has the best arc so far.
Yep. Well, he's assuming the stick wiggling position. It's fantastic.
And I've noticed he's really like, sturdied up his core.
Because he's a math teacher, he knows what an arc's supposed to look
Yep.
like.
Yep, there we go. That's,
That's why
reality.
he's the best. Okay.
3.34. Okay, no, that I could see that. That works. And that's the one thing, guys. Believe it or not, we're bringing a little bit of map. Since we're doing an arc, we're taking the tangential part of the top of the arc.
That's where calculus comes in.
A little bit of trig, a little bit of calculus, all that funness.
You made me throw up.
Just write it down, Jen. I'll do the math. Don't worry. Actually, I throw it to ArcGIS that does math for me, so it works well. Okay, we got everybody stick wiggled. Do you want to? I know you've done it before. It's up to you.
Okay.
Hey, why don't you stick wiggle?
I did a acknowledge.
Actually, that's right. You did. You want to do toe station? Because you end up. That's right. You were always wiggling the stick. Just let you have some fun here. Did anyone else need more practice? Jimmy, you got this spot on.
Bullseye level.
So Reagan, let me have you go back through and give you a little more practice. If you don't mind just wiggling the stick again. And while they're doing this, if questions come to you, feel free to ask.
I'll wait until they have to do the gymnastics of finding
so
the middle of the grid while not
There you go,
stepping on
good, good,
bone.
that's better. And then
At least the wind's not blowing.
Just a little bit more.
That's true. We're
That's
lucky with
always
the
the fun
wind.
part.
take this one, and then go this way a little. Okay, good. And again, you want a nice, complete arc. Yep.
Actually, you need to twist it a little bit more.
It's also the gymnastics of if the center of the grid is over bone, then putting the staff over the bone without putting too much pressure on it.
That's the next step.
That's good. That's good. That's just like that.
2.3. Give me 0 next time.
Yeah, 3.30.
Good enough.
What was it?
0.30. Go, just keep going. Right about 3.35 to 3.34. No, you guys did really good.
Is it okay if I practice on that? I haven't
Absolutely,
done
come.
I haven't done this in so many years. I just wanna refresh.
John, go ahead and
But it
switch
looks-
out with her.
For me, that's most focused check mark was the one below the 3.5.
Yeah.
That's
So is that,
We're gonna
did I read it right? Is that big?
we'll start writing when they get in here. It's gonna be just a big old hole in the ground.
Yeah, for me,
Jack
it's
didn't.
just, it's in between. It's just below the 3.35.
Oh wait, so that'd be 3.3. 3.3.
For me, it was right in between.
Yeah, me too.
If it wasn't here, it wasn't here. It was right in between.
But we won't go out. We're not going to go out 3 decimals, so that's way too precise.
Only 2 significant digits required.
Yep.
Okay. I just, having done it so long, I just wanted to remember it.
All right.
So I just misread it. Sorry, it's 3.34, not 3.30.
No, you guys did great. That's actually what it was showing. So everybody read it correctly. All right. So now comes the really fun part. Now comes the actual one. So we got our datum. Get in for a moment. We got our datum. Now that we've standardized that, that allows us to have the position of this relative to the ground itself and everything else. Now we're going to go ahead and go through our grids. So go ahead, John, and just be careful with that because it can be a little ungainly. Take it to A1. Jen, do you want to show them where A1 is? Now we get to do it again. Yep.
So that was just practice. That was just establishing.
No,
that was establishing the.
it was neat out of practice.
Just the
We didn't need to do
baseline.
that much.
No. So here's
By
our
the way,
square.
Eric,
Oh yeah, isn't that
I
nice?
trench.
Although it keeps getting filled in, but yeah.
Well, if you want me on hoe duty, wait, pickaxe.
You gotta make it vertical.
You don't want to be on hoe duty?
No, pickaxe. You can ask Peter. I've dug a trench at my house. I even used a backhoe, but I need to fix the pipe and fill it in.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I don't know anything
Alright.
about hoe duty though.
Yeah, I've never done that. Jimmy, you want to come here and look? So you'll have to get it set up again. You can double check that we're level. It'll be on the far side now. Typically, you can assume you're level, but always check typically before in case it gets bumped. This machine's super sensitive, so it's easy to bump. So then go ahead, use this to line up on him. Adjust it by holding here, just up here. Just hold that part. Sorry, just fair warning, there's only gonna be certain parts I want you touching because it is really expensive. Okay. So then for the ring, you can use this to adjust and bring the whole thing into focus. You don't have to wiggle just yet. Just keep it vertical. And then can I get someone else besides Jen next to him in line? Ginny, how is he
Oh, on
looking
the other side of them.
on the verticality from this direction?
You're moving it this way a little bit. It's
Yeah.
kind of coming out of the focus. thing.
That's looking pretty good now. He's got the whole thing tilted this way a bit. Okay, that's about a little bit more actually. Stop. You may need to line this in again. He was not close to level. Does that look better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like 7.2.5.
7.2.5. Okay. Pete, do you want to look through? We'll just have 2 people do each grid.
I'm assuming it's limestone, but I'm not sure.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, same. 7.2.5. I got the same.
Oh,
It might
wonderful.
be
Great
small
job, guys.
chart, because it
Okay.
comes in a bunch
So
of
then we'll have
colors.
Jerry do A2. We'll just keep rotating people in and out.
If I get anyone you bone, let me know. I haven't been this.
Oh, the A's, there's no bone in. Let's see. Who do I want to have to measure this one?
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is the center. Get to the center of A2.
Actually, too. Look at you do it. Why don't you go measure? You do the first one, and Reagan, all of you do the second one on this. So again, just check that it's level. That'll be on the opposite side from you now. Okay, good. So you go ahead and line up here and touch it from up here if you can. Yeah. And just get him on
I'm
the triangle.
wondering if it's some kind of calcite or salt or something, because it's got really like parallel fracture planes, and you don't necessarily see that in quartz. You might ask somebody that's taken more geology than I have.
Okay, yep, adjust the bevel.
Quartz kind of does a hexagonal.
Okay, now you
and that
really
looks
okay.
to
Hang
me
on.
like it's doing really parallel.
Go, Jerry, go back to A1 for a moment. I thought I had that completely locked. Apparently
The
not.
early Christians in the British Isles, quartz was kind of religious. They would get quartz quite heavily, and they'd take them to chapels and leave them at chapels. Some of the archaeological signs of a chapel in Dark Age British Isles.
That way, little Gary. Okay, hang on. Yep. Is he vertical correct, Arthur, from where you're looking? Hey, Jen, what was the measurement for A1 before?
725.
Little Cahill. We're good. All right, Jerry, go back to A2. So sometimes things won't always lock. So again, just adjust the little bevel ring here and just touch it by up here if you can for me.
Little bevel ring where?
This little bevel ring right here.
Okay.
And you can rotate this to bring it in or out of focus. You shouldn't need to touch anything else. You may need to use the triangle though just to line them up again. So up here, touch this guy. And again, one of the biggest things with the mapping is being consistent. Because it's, again, all about how relative the quarry is to itself.
Does it matter if the crosshairs are right on the...
As long as you can perceive where it's coming in and out of focus, and you keep that with the horizontal cross, that's a big thing.
It comes in the focus on the 8.
see around the
8, little 6,
little 6. Okay.
little 6, big 8.
Okay. And then what else do you see? So it's 6.8. Look at the little dashes, just like what we were doing up here.
Well, I am. I mean, it's coming like it comes in the focus right up, like right on the
Right on
right
the
on the 8.
okay then.
That's
6.80, good enough. All right, straighten. Again, just make sure it's level, because we did bump it a little. On the other side, yep. You can go round if you want. Try not to kick it.
I seemed off. It's like a little this way.
As long as it's within the circle, you're good. It's very sensitive, so if you're in the circle, you're good. Okay. You may need to take off your hat. I had to take off mine.
Can you go a little slower?
Okay. Thank you. Is this good?
That's good.
And Arthur, is he good in that direction?
I say 6.82.
6.82. Okay. That's close enough. You guys are good. Well done. All right. Let's see. Reagan, why don't you go be the stick leader for A3? And then Jimmy, you want to come in?
Yep.
And then Jasmine, you're going to be up next after Jimmy. Don't worry too much about it.
Garrett, over there they use Carboniferous for Mississippi and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they won't use Mississippi.
Yeah, that's an American thing.
Yeah. Despite the fact that we use campaign and all these other ones for that.
Yeah.
Like, we only went 2. Come on, guys. Did you check out your level? Squeal is your first step. If the bubble's in the circle, you're level. Yep. And then now you can line up with the triangle again. Just touch up here. Okay. Yep. Just mess with the bevel a little. Bring into focus. How's she looking there, Arthur? Go this way a bit. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, well, this wasn't well. A little bit more. Okay, good.
looking like 6.15.
6.15, okay. Jasmine? So first step, make sure you're level. It's up front now.
Oh.
Just don't kick the legs and just check as long as the bubble's in the circle,
Yeah,
you're good.
we're good.
And then check the triangle. Is that lined up on her?
Yeah, that's really good, I think.
Okay. And then you can adjust the bevel to bring it into focus.
It's okay.
You want it in focus. Remember, you're going off it.
No, she's coming into now.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Is it the line between the 1 and the 2 above the 6?
Directly between this.
Slightly lower. So you've got the 1 and you've got the second line above the 1.
The second one above?
Yeah, so yeah, you got the black
6.13-ish.
Yeah.
Sound about right? Okay. And again, for the second decimal, guys, if that's even approximately, we're normally good. All right. Let's see. We don't want to have stick wiggle. Here, John, why don't we have you go, and we'll just hop over to, yeah, we'll go to B3. Yeah, we'll just do that grid. That's usually the easiest way. To B3. Thank you, Reagan. So the other methodology that we didn't really discuss is when we're taking our measurements, we're doing it from the center of each grid, and that just allows us to have a basic average of the quarry itself. For individual specimens, we'll show you those in a bit. The key is that you're not putting too much pressure on the bone. You want to just barely have it on the bone, or just hovering slightly above it is really, really delicate. Like, for example, when we're working on eggs, we actually are never going to put the stick in contact with the eggshell. We usually just go slightly above and then take anywhere from a centimeter to half a centimeter off. Just other methodology in mapping them. Garrett, what else?
Like perimeter, like around the perimeter too, normally, or
No, just each center. Yep, just in the middle.
Yeah, we're essentially trying to grab an average of each grid by just placing it in the center.
Yep. Tell you what, do you want to come over and try this one again? So you'll have more to talk about with Lyle. Because now you got a line and everything, which should be good. Just again, make sure that you're level. How's he looking, Arthur? And can I get one of you guys here, tell you what, Jasmine? I know prospecting's neat, but can you come over and just help him make sure is he level in this direction? And basically, you want him to be pure. You want him to be pure vertical.
Looks pretty good. Maybe a chance to get too far.
I think he's too far to the left.
Maybe this way.
So come this way.
Oh, that's a bit
That's too far.
That's about right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now it's a bit on the left, isn't it? That's better.
Yeah, that will work. Just keep it right there. Just adjust it back. It happens. Try and keep a nice arc. So many 8-6. Just not aligning. Okay. And use that triangle to get it on. Okay, then just adjust the bevel. Yeah, you can put down the notebook. Okay.
Primarily, yeah. And you got the limestone block.
Yes.
And then there can be impurities in the limestone too, and then when it weathers,
Yeah.
it'll oxidize
Okay.
to a different color. There are some of them,
Just be
when you're
gentle
walking
with the
around,
bevel.
some of them actually
Trying
start
to
to
like
get
it.
really
I just think
shiny
it's not.
sheen on them.
Do you want me to get in for a second?
Sure.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Well, layman's term is
It was not like it was never
desert.
Yeah.
Jen, what did you call that? Desert
Varnish?
desert varnish. I couldn't think of the right word. This one's not that shiny, but some of them get super glossy.
Yeah. What's this? So it's just like iron concretion on
What
them.
is that? What is how's he looking there?
It kind of looks like some quartz
Mm-hmm.
Chalcedony type stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It's interesting.
So it can look like an inclusion when it really isn't.
Yeah.
Or the impurity is the inclusion, I guess. Technically.
Yeah. Keep finding pictures. There's a lot that comes up. It's conglomerate.
To save someone swinging it back and forth too fast, because Reagan was saying I was going too fast. Slow down.
Yeah, that horncore would be cool.
Well, we can probably conclude it. They get the idea of what we're doing.
Red.
We'll do some more live streams later. Maybe you guys learned a little bit about the background of what goes on in paleontology that most people don't talk about. And if you have more questions, I mean,
And unfortunately for this,
go to the
I've done
comments. Let me know.
measurement,
I'll
there's
try to
right
answer them. Fossilize you later.
Signing off.
Is that your sign off? Fossilize you later?
Yep.
That's a good one.